Welcome, Wanderer. How do we maximize our Aether this season to always fight Bartuc and get our chaotic armor? Also, where do I get most Infernal Compasses from so I can go back to back hordes? And most importantly, should I always jump into chaos waves, or is there a reason to actually skip them? The answer is yes, there is a reason to skip them. Let's first start with the Infernal Compass question, because there are three sources to get a lot of them. Number one is simply going into Helltide and opening the boxes, and it doesn't matter if you open the 250 box or the smaller ones. All of them have a chance for Infernal Compasses. However, this chance got nerfed for some weird reason. I prefer the second method, and that would be going into nightmare dungeons that say Chaos Rifts. These chaotic rifts in the nightmare dungeons not only give you greater affixed items, Infernal Warp, possible mythics, all that kind of stuff, reputation, no, they always have a chance to spew out an Infernal Compass. I managed to get 2 or 3 Infernal Compasses per nightmare dungeon that has chaotic rifts in there. And this brings us to the third method that actually ties into the second method. And that would be maxing your reputation after you've finished the reputation board to get yourself greater infernal caches. These will have chaotic uniques in it and always an Infernal Compass. And since we're going into the nightmare dungeons with chaotic rifts, we'll get a lot of Infernal Warp, and you only need 4,000 Infernal Warp to buy yourself enough reputation for another tier. Boom, chaotic unique guaranteed and Infernal Compass guaranteed. Don't forget your seasonal blessings under you that says Urn of Blazing Infernal, chance to drop an additional Infernal Compass that is guaranteed to be a 10 wave. And also the Urn of Nightmares on the side that has a chance to drop an additional Nightmare Dungeon Sigil from Helltide chest. These will give you those chaotic rifts nightmare sigils so you never run out of them. Infinite Infernal Horde Compass guarantee. Oh, and before you open a single greater Infernal cache, you want to make sure to also have Urn of Chaos Armor checked so the Infernal caches can drop up to 2 chaotic unique. Good, now let's dive into the Infernal Hordes and how to always get 666 Aether. And that's where the chaotic waves come in. The chaotic waves have a problem. If I choose a chaotic wave, I will get 200, 400 to maybe 1,000 Aether even if I get an Aether Goblin event. But they won't advance my Infernal Horde. If I get offered a chaotic wave at round 2, I won't be able to take a boon that's going to be with me for another 8 waves. It's going to give me bonuses for 8 total waves. So I'm pretty much gambling instant Aether for way more Aether down the line. Now, if you only do a 6-wave compass or an 8-wave compass, I think it's always better to take the chaos wave, because your goal is to get those 666 Aether to kill Bartuc to get chaotic armor. However, if I'm doing a 10-wave horde, I mostly avoid chaotic waves, because the actual adding up of boons together often leads to a way better outcome than 200-300 Aether gain from one chaotic wave. Here, for example, I had to choose between chaotic wave or Aether Lords give me +5 Aether. I did choose the chaotic wave, but in this case, the 5 more Aether per Aether Lord would have been tripled to 15 more Aether per Aether Lord, and I was spawning Aether Lords left, right, and center. Even if the chaotic wave gave me 300 Aether, the normal wave would give me 500 easily due to all the boons and banes taken. And now that I mentioned Aether Lords, they're the new hot shit. Forget about Hellborn or hunting you. In Season 10, everything is about Aether Fiends and Aether Lords. The absolute super S tier boon is called Colossal Fiends. Aether Fiends spawn as Aether Lords and drop 3x Aether. And any Aether Fiend buff, Aether Fiends give you +2, Aether Fiends give you +2, all of that is getting tripled with this one. Now, any Aether Fiend event that usually would spawn the Fiends is now pumping out Lords, and they instantly drop you 15 Aether. It's crazy. And this gets boosted tremendously by Etheric Masses, namely Teeming Masses. Etheric Masses now have a chance to spawn an Aether Fiend on death. That Aether Fiend will be a Lord. You destroy a Moth, you get 3 Aether, you spawn a Lord, you instantly get 15 Aether. And with the Fiendish Legion boon, you can now spawn Aether Fiends instead of normal elites. So normal elites randomly will appear at Aether Fiends, but since Aether Fiends are Aether Lords, there's randomly Aether Lords spawning. This gets crowned by Ruthless Lords, Aether Lords grant +5 Aether, and Bursting Masses, Wave Start spawn 2 Etheric Masses that both have a chance to spawn Lords. That will then lead to faster Aether events because you're killing more things, and then you get more Lords, and then you get more Aether, and it all snowballs so amazingly fast. Everything that is Fiend related, everything that is Lord related, and then the Masses boosting that further. That's your safe road to always getting 666 Aether. Might it be an 8-wave horde? Might it be a 10-wave horde? 6-wave horde is risky. You should definitely go for chaotic waves there. Now you're going to say, but Pony, I won't get this every single time. You will. You will. I mainly focus on Lords and Fiends, and I get it done every single Infernal Horde. There hasn't been an Infernal Horde where I have not gotten the Colossal Fiends, where I've then not gotten the Teeming Masses. You always have them. But what about Hellborn? Do they have anything good left? And Soulspires as well. There's only 2 Hellborn ones that are worth it. One is called the Ambushing Hellborn, a legendary one. It says Hellborn can now spawn as ambushes. In this case, they will spawn bonus to Aether events. So a random Aether event will appear, the Lord, the Teeming Mass, a Soulspire, Hellfire comes down, and they'll be bonus with that. Why is this good? Because if you kill these Hellborn, you will just advance your etheric events further. I would only take the Ambushing Hellborn if the other 2 were 2 bad Soulspire choices, right? I would never take the Ambushing Hellborn over any Aether Fiend related stuff. However, if you get to choose this, you will pretty much advance your Aether events faster. The same goes for the Summoned Hellborn. This one says Hellborn can now spawn with Aether events, but they don't spawn as Aether events, they spawn with Aether events. So if an Aether event is spawning, there might be a Hellborn coming on the tippity top of it that will then also make you get other etheric events faster. Somewhat worth it, but everything Aether Fiend related better. What about Soulspires though? And there's 2 that are absolutely amazing. One is Hungry Spires. Enemies killed within the range of a Soulspire have a chance to drop Aether, and the Soulspires pull enemies in at the same time. This chance to spawn Aether is more or less a guarantee. From 15 enemies you pull in, 9 to 10 will drop a bone with Aether Globe, plus the standard 5 the Spire anyways drops. And the other one is a legendary one called Coveted Spires. Soulspires will grant 2.5 times more Aether, and they spawn less often. The reason you take this is to have Soulspires spawn less often. Not for the 2.5 times Aether. You just want to be like, nah, thank you, I don't want you anymore. General advice for builds on Infernal Hordes. For my Necromancer, for example, I'm choosing the Soul Rift Area Blaster. I won't be going for minions because minions are useless. You need targeted damage to take down those etheric masses, to nuke the Lord, whatsoever. Same goes for the Druid. You want to have that pulverized. You want to have the Ravens. You want to do damage at the spot to be able to just delete something right away and not just have some random shenanigan damage flinging around left, right, and center. Now tell me in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen, what has been your nastiest Infernal Horde you have done solo and with teammates? I've seen 2,500, I've seen 2,700, and it was always because of these chaotic wave goblin events. But what have you gotten? Tell me. And if you want to play the Druid, here's the guide. Enjoy and take care.